Hey everybody, welcome back for another great conversation. Today we are going to be talking about PTSD and HSD. HSD meaning high sex drive. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, hey. So I am ready for another good conversation. I hope that you are. So for those of you who are new to my channel, what's up? Kasey's Charlotte King, licensed marriage trauma therapist, relationship coach, expert, author, all of those things. If you do not have my couple conversation cards, I'm telling you they are a game changer in your relationship. You definitely need to have those in your life. Okay, I'm saying couple conversation cards, you definitely need to have those in your life. Another amazing product that I have is my marriage planner. I'm telling you, since the release November last year, I cannot keep them in stock. So you definitely need to get your hands on, excuse me, if not one, but the both of those. So today we're going to talk about PTSD and HSD. Y'all, is it a thing? Absolutely. But why is there not a lot of research on this? I was having a conversation over the weekend about this, actually Friday, having a conversation about this with someone. And when we talked about it, my first thought was like, wow, that is truly amazing, in regards to the conversation that we've had. And then when I had to sit and kind of think about it and process it a little more over the weekend, I saw that so much in a lot of my clients that I worked with a few years ago. And I just didn't kind of correlate the two, because the difference between then and now is I was working with more children who are physically and sexually abused or victims of a violent crime, and now more into couples, a whole lot more, which is, I love couples, but definitely working with children and their trauma has definitely made me a better marriage and sex therapist, because oftentimes the issues we have relate to what? Our childhood. So if you look, you will see there's not a lot of research out there on PTSD and HSD. Again, high sex drive. So I don't have to say that so many times. It's not so much information out there about it, because when you look at PTSD, what are some things that may come to mind for you in regards to what are some coping mechanisms or symptoms? How do you cope? Some people cope with drugs, alcohol, food, isolation. Some people have a lower sex drive. Oftentimes, you don't think that, wow, because of this trauma, my sexual drive has peaked. You don't hear it in a lot of people, but it doesn't mean that it's not there, because it is more common than you think. But because the focus has often shifted in the other direction, you won't be able to find a whole lot of research on it. But they are coming around a little bit, very slow, y'all, a little bit, and doing research on that. Drinking my coffee, pause. So, where does this come from? How does this happen? How do people who suffer from trauma engage in sex more, and not just less or not at all? So there are, well, I can't say I know everywhere, that the trauma comes from. But just doing a lot of research and reading, one, we often know childhood sexual trauma, and not being able to differentiate that feeling of pleasure when you're being abused. Because when you're being abused, but you're being touched in a place that's highly sensitive, it's going to feel really good to you, which can also confuse you. One thing you will find if you have worked with children, or you have worked with children who have been sexually abused, or let's say they may come into your office, or if you're watching, if this is you, Um, if you have been touched or work with someone who has been touched at a younger age, there may be some, the parent may say, oh, they're pleasing themselves more. I don't understand that. Or, where it's a teen, are they more promiscuous and things like that, kind of searching for that feeling again, even though they're still dealing with that trauma of what has occurred to them. But they're also interested in having more sex, trying to get that pleasurable feeling back. So I noticed some it may seem, confusing, but let's think about it. When you have sex, it's such a euphoric feeling. It's such a, feeling of, you feel like you're on cloud nine, you have nothing to worry about. Even for some, and a lot of researchers say this, some of the neurotransmitters that are released during sex are the same ones that are released during trauma. So let's take a look at a couple of those. One being dopamine. Dopamine is definitely one that is released during sex and trauma. And also the way it plays a role in how you experience pleasure. So that's definitely, definitely important. And it kind of goes right along with our other one, norepinephrine, or some may call noradrenaline, which actually comes from dopamine. So norepinephrine is really what happens to your body, or has a lot to do with, how you control your stress, or how you respond to stress rather. So let's look at a couple of things that may happen when you have just a very stressful experience, or you have a highly traumatic experience, whatever that looks like for you. One or two things may happen. You may definitely go into fight mode. You're highly, reactive. It is often what they, try to teach you in the military. Be ready for the enemy. Be alert. They always say, stay alert, stay alive, right? So your automatic response sometimes is to boom, go. But oftentimes, the body, may flee, which is called, flight, or may go away, or you may freeze up. And another thing that happens when you have a highly traumatic event or a traumatic event, your heart rate goes up, which you often know correlate, happens in sex as well. When you have sex, you have an elevated, heart rate, you're hot, you're sweaty, all of those things. So you can see how those two go together. And going back to the fight or flight, and when you have those traumatic experiences, sometimes you replay in your head, how did I not have control? How did I not see that coming? I was prepared. How did I not freeze up? Or how did I not protect myself? You go into questioning yourself and blaming yourself sometimes. So what do some people turn to? Some people turn to sex as a way of trying to control themselves, as a way of trying to gain that power back, that control over their bodies. So if I go, just have sex, and it's not even having sex with multiple people, but just having a higher sex drive, sometimes that's their way of getting my power back. If I have control over one thing, I have control over my body. And to be honest with you, some people may say, hey, I don't know. I can probably say when I started wanting to have more sex, but I'm just not sure why. So some people may not even, connect the two, because no one really talks about it. But it's very important that we pay attention to that. We pay attention to how the stress responds to us in our body, or talk to a professional. about that, so they can help us understand our body's response to sex, and not just, oh, you may have a diminished sex drive, oh, you may have times where you're, having depression, we can work on that, or times when you feel really anxious, let's work on that. Okay, my sex drive is low, I want to have, better sex, I want to have more quality sex with my partner, but also let's talk about the flip side, and that I'm having sex at probably a higher rate than normal. And it's not about building connections, it's about maybe fleeing from my past, learning a way to build up control and have more power over myself. I have more power, over if this ever happens again, or how I'll respond to stress. So getting into preparation mode. And that's definitely not healthy. And how does that reflect to your partners? Because you may see, I have just a high sex drive, I want to have sex a lot. And your partner may be like, wait, hold on. That may not be normal to me. Or you may see your partner as having a lower sex drive, which may in fact be normal. But depending on who you talk to be honest, y'all, sometimes normal can definitely be relative. What's normal? Twice a week, 4 times a week. Research often says it depends on age and quality of marriage, so you never know there. But definitely understand, if you look back and you can relate, or put together, hey, a high sex drive started around this time, and around this time I was in a car accident, around this time I was in the military, and whatever the case may be. And I try to go back sometime and try to retrace that euphoric moment, because sex is definitely euphoric, and it's not just also about control, it's about escape and having that feeling of a feeling of high. Like I said, you're on cloud nine and things like that. So it's not even all the time just about pleasure. It's about escape from reality, control. So definitely seek some help around that. Find someone that can definitely work with you. Find you a sex therapist. Find you a trauma therapist to definitely help you find healthier ways to work through your PTSD and your response to the trauma that you had in your life. So thank y'all so much for watching. Definitely didn't want to make this too long so it'd be too confusing to people. Kind of wanted to break it down to you just on a easier bite-sized level. Hope I didn't use too many big words, but I'll definitely put those down in the comments or the tag in the video so you can see that, and I'll give you a definition of those if you want to kind of do a deeper dive on that yourself. But if that was you and this happened to you, then comment below, hey, how have you worked through that? Or hey, I recognize that that's me, I need to kind of do some more work on that. But definitely seek the help that you need. If you want to email me privately as well, you can do that at info at ksalone.com, KSALONE.com. Y'all be well, and until next time, take care of you, control your peace, speak light and love into yourself. Bye for now.